Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom. What? I nearly said deadline stream then. It's not a deadline stream. Welcome back to the FPL Tom YouTube channel.
We've
It's
got a
not.
deadline.
We do have a deadline, but it's not today. It's tomorrow.
Well, we have a deadline today.
Well, yeah, we do have a deadline today. It's only
So
going to
I
be a
know what you
very.
were saying.
Yeah. It was confusing my head. These are never ever like smooth intros, are they? They never roll off the tongue. People, they'll come in and they'll go, "Oh, I bet he's got 10,000 subscribers. I bet he's really good at intros now." No, forget it. I just spaff my way through the intro every single time. But me and Jake are back ahead of game week 15. Of course, there will be a deadline stream nice and early tomorrow. Jake, my man, how are you feeling after midweek?
All good, mate. Didn't go to plan. There's the elephant in the room that has been the elephant in the room for several weeks now. But I think on the whole, at least I've kept myself in the running. But I've definitely dropped backwards as opposed to a few people.
Hey, you say that, lad, but I actually think you had a pretty good game week.
Did I go up or did I go
No,
down? I
you
thought
you
I
would
went
you
down.
you would have had a red arrow. I didn't actually have time to update the things, but I think you had a small red because you only scored 2 less than me, and I only had a small red as well. So I think you're
Well,
all good, to be
yeah, I'm
honest.
still. Oh, yeah. To be fair, I've gone back to 1.8. So yeah, it has actually not done bad because I was 1.8 million or thereabouts on our last stream.
Yeah.
I saw after the Liverpool result, I'd gone down to 1.9, but somehow, just I think simply having Anthony Robinson might have just chucked me up a few 100,000.
Hey lad, honestly, genuinely, and I mean this, I reckon both of us got the captaincy wrong this week. Neither of us captained Salah, right?
I
But it's
don't
just
think we're alone though.
no, we're not. But it's the fact that we just had random defenders that scored really well. You had him, and I had Mikalenko with an 11 pointer, and
Eleven.
that's the only thing that propped my game week up.
Oh yeah, and I had Pickford sat in goal, didn't
Yeah,
I?
yeah. Just proper road clean sheets. Right, I can see we've got some absolute legends in the chat. Andy the Cat, Thomas W, Sad EL, I believe that's how I'm gonna pronounce it. If I'm wrong, let me know. Dream FPL, you can get a shout out as well. I've never seen you in one of these streams before, my friend, but yeah, you're the only one I didn't shout out. So if you do have any questions, guys, get them in as always. Of course, the likes and subscribing are massively appreciated by myself, and I'm guessing Jake, although he probably
Of
doesn't
course
really
they
care.
are.
He doesn't
Of
really
course.
probably care.
I care so much.
Yeah, you can just tell with his
Look at
voice.
no, I care so much. You've willingly sacrificed 15 minutes of your time here,
Mm,
which you'd be able to get no doubt another 100,000 follows
mm.
just for me to go and see the mother-in-law.
Oh yeah. Well, if she sorts out the Wi-Fi, then I'm all for it. But
Well, I mean, we've stopped with the disco lights, haven't we, for the time being?
yeah. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Right, I am conscious you do need to shoot off, so let's stop waffling absolute garbage and dive into your team then from midweek. It wasn't 67 in the end; it was actually 63. And you know what? I can update it while you talk me through what went well and what didn't go so well, Jake.
Why did it go back down to 63? What happened there?
No, you just did, mate. It just did. There you go. Talk me through what
Or
went
was I
well.
67 the week before?
Yeah, you were
Uh,
67 the week before.
I mean, having Salah is always going to be a positive, but it's always going to be it's going to be overshadowed by the fact that people will have captained him, and he's on one this season. I think that Newcastle game has just said to any doubters, and you know what? I'll admit it, myself included. Salah is on one this season, and I even thought that Haaland was a better shout, but all of a sudden, I think Salah's actually shown just how keen he is to outperform everyone. Um, so that was really good. Like I said, I had dropped down because I hadn't captained Salah. At least I have not fallen too far by the wayside with Palmer coming in for my team, Bruno doing nothing as well, and that was my transfer. Joe Gomez and Delo, they cancelled each other out as well. Gomez, although I do feel like for the long run did worry me a bit, I don't think he had a very good game at all. After having quite a solid game against City, I think at Newcastle he was quite fortunate to not be one of the reasons why we would have ended up losing the game. But he's a cheap defender in a side that need a defender, so I've got to hope that he will pick things up and that Liverpool will keep a clean sheet. Attacking wise, not the best. At least Haaland got some kind of return, so that at least it wasn't a massive letdown with my captaincy the wrong captaincy choice. And of course, I'm wearing a Curtis Jones top right now. Just a shame that I benched him, but I mean, I think he was just kind of in there as a bit of a laugh, but also as a bit of a you never know. And he'd blanked for too many weeks running, and it's just sod's law really that he got dropped. He got dropped and he scored. But yeah, on the whole, if you think I've done all right, then that's respectful. Morgan Rogers, I think a few people actually were quite tempted to bench him after their poor run of form, so maybe that's helped me a little bit because we've kind of been forced to play him. And just a shout out, just to finish things off, I was shitting myself. I don't know. Did you watch the Liverpool game?
No, I was out.
Right. Okay. Well, if you were watching the Liverpool game, my word, Lewis Hall is underrated, man, because he could have had 2 goals. He was playing his inner. He brought out his inner eight Nori. He just kept finding himself in the box as the highest player forward. So yeah, that was a fortunate one. I had my heart in my mouth for that just because I benched him. But yeah, he's definitely someone to keep an eye on because he does seem to find himself in quite high positions. So it's only a matter of time. But yeah, that's all I can really sum up on this team. But I think it's just the moral of the story is Salah is just becoming inevitable, isn't he?
Yeah. Obviously, I don't want to stay on this team for too long. Let's move on to how your team's looking for this upcoming game week. Obviously, you've not made any transfers yet. I put captaincy on your team on Haaland, but from the way you speak in there, it feels like you're probably going to be leaning more towards Salah. And with that, do you think maybe Salah's just going to be an easy captain for people most weeks this season, the form that he's in?
Certainly, whilst he's playing this way, the only thing so I've got the dilemma really because I think, like you've said plenty of times, if I'm not going to captain Haaland, he's a waste of space in the team, and I completely agree for the amount of money. I've got 2 free transfers, so there is an easy out for Haaland. The argument is that I was willing to keep him for the Liverpool game, even though I didn't really have too much faith that he would do something. I still believed he could do, but the fact that he didn't proves that I needed to keep him in and captain him like I did in the week. That went against me. Crystal Palace is the final game before a couple of more difficult games where you'd argue maybe Haaland should be the captain in this one. So it is a bit of a dilemma. I feel like if I'm going to captain Salah, I need to just go balls to the horn and take my 2 transfers, including Haaland, out. So just spread the fees out, maybe bring Saka in. Otherwise, I think I need to be captain Salah. I think because I think if you've got paying 15 million for someone and they're playing against Crystal Palace, no matter how much their form might have altered ever so slightly, I do feel like you have to be captaining Haaland in that fixture. Granted, Salah against Everton, I get it, but at the same time, Everton have proved to be quite a bogey team at certain points, especially when Liverpool have needed the win a lot more urgently. The only thing I have is, will the game go ahead?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Obviously, what's the storm name? Dara? Is it Storm
Dara?
Whatever.
I don't know. Well, however you want to pronounce it.
However
you probably
want to
pronounce it Tong or something.
Yeah, Tab. I saw it on Twitter that apparently Welsh games are being cancelled.
Yeah, and the thing is, I feel like it's not the same as a postponement because of a waterlogged pitch, is it? It's just purely
it's the outside area. I was saying this to someone today at work. Basically, it's not going to be the pitches themselves that are probably going to flood at the Premier League level. It's the surrounding areas that then obviously cause, security issues. Then, of course, they cause problems for people's safety and stuff like that. I think if you remember back to maybe like 2 seasons ago, Mansfield, like the pitch was fine, but obviously the river below the ground or the lake burst its bank, so all the surrounding area was just flooded, so no one could get to the actual stadium. The pitch was fine, it was just all around the ground was basically flooded, to be honest. So I imagine that might be a problem for a few Premier League games as well this weekend. So maybe if you are thinking about maybe making some moves tonight, it might be worth potentially just holding off tomorrow, see how the storm develops and see what areas are badly affected.
I think especially when you're considering Salah probably being the most popular captain now.
Yeah.
When he's the early kickoff, there's a chance that during your deadline stream, a nice little plug, that you're going to get a leak or 2.
Hey, see what you did there? Water leak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I also feel like that's the kind of game where they're not going to want to leave it till the very last minute.
No, no.
They will abandon it if they feel like it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel like that will go ahead,
Yeah.
but it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for it before you commit. Or if you want to commit tonight, just make sure your vice captain's on someone decent.
Yeah, very, very good valid point as well. Always making sure you've probably not got a vice captain within the same game as your captain.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if that game gets over, you're screwed. So for your team, it'd probably be a Haaland or a Palmer that shouldn't really be affected, to be honest, with the floods and stuff like that. I wanted to talk to you about Cole Palmer maybe being a captaincy option. I know he only came away with 1 goal against Southampton, but I watched the match of the day highlights back. He hit the post. He whipped in a corner that someone headed onto the post. And that Spurs back line is looking extremely, extremely ropey with the injuries that they've got at the moment. Ben Davies obviously went off yesterday as well. Playing against the highlight. I can't remember, but I saw a picture on Twitter. It was like their back line was just like, what is this? Absolute ropes. Yeah. Not in a good place.
I think it's still... it's probably down to the fact that, well, I mean, I didn't see the game. I didn't see how Spurs finished in the defensive areas. So they're very, very important things to consider for that kind of game, because if you look at it on face value, Spurs away is definitely a more daunting task than Everton away, with all due respect, or Palace away with Haaland and Salah to consider. But with what you say, he's certainly a good option as a differential, because he could be the one that's laughing at the end of the weekend. You might want to go safe with Salah. You might think it might be time that Haaland finally kicks into gear. Now he's got some form of attacking return. It's only a matter of time before he scores. But then maybe they'll both be overwhelmed by the fact that, like you say, Palmer just makes the most of and takes advantage of a really, really weak and very inconsistently weak Spurs side. On the contrary, though, you've got to admit that Spurs are good against the big sides. It's so weird, but whenever there's a challenge, they seem to turn up.
Yeah, agreed. You know what? Looking at your team though, right? And I mean this. You could roll this week. You very easily could roll. That's a pretty strong team.
I think I would be putting Hall in my team. I do want him to play
over who?
Most likely Joe Gomez, I think.
You I disagree with that. Brentford,
really?
Brentford are the highest scoring team at home.
I know, but it's just after seeing the Lewis Hall game.
No.
They're also the highest conceded at home. They're not.
Just
like they won't be far off.
You know who I'd be more tempted with? Nuri. Wolves.
What to drop him?
Yeah, Wolves' defensive record is honking at the moment.
That is El Sacchio as well.
It is El Sacchio as well. Like he could get drummed.
Would you put Jones in for Strand Larson?
No. I think like West Ham can't defend either.
Yeah.
So I reckon there'll be goals in there. I'm quite jealous of the Evan Nielsen pick as well. He looked really, really good again last night.
Unfortunate, really, wasn't he, with that goal? It was definitely an offside, but it was.
Yeah.
It's nice to see him still being in and around the danger area.
Oh, 100. I think that's the thing. If you play a blanks but they look really good, I think it gives you a lot more confidence going forward as well.
Yeah, I agree. Why would you leave it how it is, or would you bring Jones or Hall in?
I mean, we can look at the betting data and maybe if it's close, you just go with your gut feeling. But I reckon if it's clear on one way or the other, then I'd probably just go with that. But don't blame me in the group chat later when it all goes.
Would you keep Haaland in this week for a final time?
You know what, mate? I think I would. Palace have been pretty poor this season.
Well, what do you think about captaincy?
I think the majority are going to go Salah, right?
Yeah.
I reckon Salah is the easy bet for captaincy, right? If you want to go different, I probably would say Palmer, and in your case, Haaland could also be a decent shout. But I think Haaland on his own right now could be just a decent enough player.
What about Evan Nilsson?
Not Evan Nilsson. Don't go. No. Don't.
You
start.
said you were extremely jealous.
I'm jealous, but I'm not saying captaincy.
Oh, I've got tempted now, Tom.
Right, before we move on to my team, actually, Jake, have you got any final thoughts you want to
No.
add?
Moving on happily with that. I think you are right. I think it's worth holding on one more week, see how Haaland does, and then we'll probably endeavour to get Saka in.
Yeah. Agreed. Right, let's answer some of your questions before we move on to my team. So do get them in the chat. We'll try and answer a few, and then we'll finish up at the end. Jessica said everybody's going to go Salah. Jojo has said play Cunha or Rodgers. He can't decide. Ooh.
I'd play Rodgers.
Yeah, I'd play Rodgers. There was some comments who did they play midweek? Pre-Brentford that Emi Buendia might be competing with some minutes for Rodgers. So there might be a bench in there. But
Strange one, that, if he's just scored. But
apparently he can't play all the games over Christmas for fitness reasons.
Oh, okay, well.
So
in that case, I guess you've just got to go with what you think's right. But I think if you're going by statistics, then it's a no-brainer. And if you're going by form, it's probably a no-brainer as much as Cunha's. It was Cunha, right?
Yes, it was Cunha.
Yeah, he's had good moments. Rodgers has scored in the week and has been a lot more consistent.
Yeah. Is it worth taking a hit to bring in Gomez for Digne or Nori? Not for me personally.
No, not at all.
No.
Keep Digne in.
I mean, Digne's probably going to see some rotation, I think, over festive. But 8
Yeah, but he's not worth the minus, is he? Start Digne. I'd start Digne against Southampton.
Yeah. You take that risk. You would take that risk rather than the -4. Thoughts on Lewis to Kirkes and Raul Jimenez to Evan Nielsen? Fan of both of those moves for me.
Yeah, definitely.
I like both of those moves you've suggested. Mark's in from New Zealand. Happy to have you, mate. What other questions have we got? Just having a quick scan through. I don't think we've got any more. We'll pick some more up a little bit later in today's stream. So like I said, keep them coming along. We will pick them up a little bit later. My computer has decided just to freeze at the wrong time. So thank you very much for that one. But let's head on to how my team got on then in game week 14. It wasn't 82 points. That graphic is wrong. And let me quickly update that because that is going to go to 65. Wonderful stuff. There he is. There's Jake. He's back as well. Wonderful stuff. So 65 in the end. Like I said, we got captaincy wrong, but on another day, it could have been a mega haul for Palmer as well. If it, that chance that hit the post went in, the corner that he obviously put in that hit the bar could have gone in as well. So there was opportunities for Palmer to do quite well, and I still think, give me that scenario yet again, I think a lot of us are probably still going to end up going Cole Palmer captain. Outside of that, really disappointing from the rest of the team, to be honest. João Pedro assist, can't complain. Raya clean sheet, very, very nice. Mikalenko carrying the team on his back with a fat, juicy 11-pointer. And then you obviously spoke about Morgan Rodgers. Well, he sat on my bench. There he is. There he is. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. I feel I rode my luck with a Mikalenko 11-pointer. And then just lost out on the Morgan Rodgers one.
Oh, and Konza as well in your team.
Yeah.
This is the issue. It's the issue when you take a gamble. Sometimes it's a 50-50, really, isn't it? And unfortunately, the 3 players you did decide to play were the wrong 3, and the one you didn't. Well, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, another honk from Brian and Buemo. Another honk from Visser as well.
At least you didn't have Bowen.
Yeah, well, this is the thing though. Bowen looked really, really good.
I thought Fulkrug looked quite decent when he came on.
Well, yeah. But he'll not last. He'll not last, will he? His legs will fall off at about 2 weeks' time. I'm calling it right now. His legs will be gone again. But yeah, some honky picks. Some honky picks that I've got to obviously think. So let's move on to how the team's looking then for this game week. Where is it? There it is. This is how the team's looking for this game week. And so far, I've not made any transfers. I've got 2 in hand. Now, I could roll. Feasibly, I could roll and play one of Aina, Greaves, or Mikalenko and take 3 into next week. That is a possibility. But Brian and Buemo is honking up the gaff with his recent performances. And I just feel like he is a player that's eating up too much budget and probably needs to be going. And there's a few options. There is a few options. We could be going for Bowen, straight swap Bowen and Mbuemo. I've looked at Anthony Gordon. I like the look of him and the fixtures coming up for Newcastle. I could go Semenyo. That's an option as well. The other options I've got is I could go Visser to Evan Nielsen, Visser to Isak, and then finally the Mikalenko one is I could go for Gomez, I could go for Kirkes, and I could go for Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Oof.
So yeah, there's some tasty picks out there that I could be definitely picking up
Yeah,
over the next few weeks.
definitely.
Hmm.
I think if you're going to go for a Bournemouth ball, you need to be doing it this week.
Yeah, for Ipswich, yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to make that move. If you're going for Gordon, I feel like you actually might want to hold off a week when you've got Mbuemo against Gordon's record with the
Hmm.
home and away. I think as much as Mbuemo has been stinking up the gaff, I think that's a big risk. You're relying on the gaff to continue stunk.
Hmm.
Whereas I actually feel like Mbuemo is probably more favourite to get an attacking return at home to Newcastle. um, but yeah, personally, out of all of them, um, I do like the thought. Like you said, you like the thought of a Bournemouth player. I do think a Bournemouth asset would be the best things to do if you are going to do it this week.
Yeah.
I also feel like the team, the way it's set up, actually is quite nice. I would probably even be tempted to play Visser over Cunha. I just feel like with Brentford's home form, as weirdly strange as they are away from home, they may not win the game, but they don't half score goals, do they?
Yeah. They do score a lot of goals
Um,
at home. That is one of the big things as well. I am fearing taking Visser out. Now, what I could do is I could, theoretically, right, these could be the transfers that we do over the next few weeks. And Buemo down to Semenyo, Mikalenko up to Trent, and then the following week we do Isak in, and they play Ipswich and Leicester back to back.
that's nice.
It's a tasty set of moves, that, isn't it?
That is very nice. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I think that's a nice little
Mm.
structure to it.
Yeah, and the only the only
Okay.
the only
You
thing
could
running
though
through my
do that
mind,
in a bulk, couldn't you? So you don't have to jump into it this week.
yeah, or I could do it all this week for a -4.
You could. But I think with the midweek games, you've got to be careful on rotation, don't you? You never fully know how it's going to set out.
Well, look at the Chelsea team in
I
midweek.
know
Everyone got absolutely diddled by
a
that
lot
one.
of people put Jackson in, didn't they?
Jackson, Colwell, Sanchez, all of them dropped. So
Mm.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I like how the team looks. If you're going to roll, it looks very respectful. Who are you captain in Salah?
yeah. I think I'm gonna just stick it on Salah,
And who's your vice? Palmer.
Palmer. Yeah,
Fair dues. Yeah, I understand that.
yeah. What transfers would you make then if that's your team? You've got in front of you two free transfers.
If I had to make a transfer, I think I like the midfield. You know what? I don't care about how bad Mbuemo's record's been recently. I do fancy them at home. Newcastle are one of the weirdest teams this season as well because they seem to beat all or like at least get a result against all the big sides, and then the teams they should be comfortably beating they actually really struggle against. I actually fancy Brentford in that game. I definitely fancy them to score a couple. So I like your midfield five. I think that's solid. Up top, João Pedro against Leicester. I do think there is a slight dilemma with Cunha and Visser because as much as it's Wolves against West Ham, I don't know which way that goes. And I think if I had to be a better man, I think you've got to kind of side with the home team because both sides are being bloody woeful. Um, that being said, I would probably ever so slightly argue that Wolves have had a bit more about themselves. So I understand why you're committing to them.
Well, my
Uh,
thought process with that one is Cunha might be on penalties,
yeah,
and Visser's probably going to come off again around 75.
fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the one way to avoid all risks and stuff would maybe be just to take Vista out, bring Evan Nilsson in, and bench Cunha.
The thing is, if I bring Evan Nielsen in, is I don't want double Bournemouth attack.
You
Because
don't have to
well, no, but I like how what am I doing with Mbuemo then? Like,
bring Bowen in. I think in a couple of weeks or in a week.
no, I don't want to bring him in a week. He's only got 4 good fixtures, and the problem with Bowen is he roughly falls out of fixtures the same time as Cunha does, and Ait Nuri, and that's roughly the same time when Haaland's fixtures pick back up. And if I want to get him in, I've got to do some top manoeuvring around.
In which case, then maybe it is just worth rolling. You've got 8 Nori, so maybe just accept fate and commit to the Wolves boys, which then answers your question and just keep bowing out for the time being.
Mm.
Um, I do think West Ham win that game. I must say, just thinking about it, I think West Ham will get a result there.
It's going to be an interesting one that Monday. There's going to be goals. There's going to be goals.
We'll see.
There will be goals. There will be goals. Trust me. Trust me.
Yeah, I don't think Mbeumo is worth taking out this week. I'd actually hold on a week.
I mean, his date has been terrible. The new role they've got him playing in is just not creating anything. Absolute niche.
We shall see.
I think if I'm correct, it's like he's over the past few game weeks, he's 128th in terms of creativity for Premier League players.
Solid, that's good.
That's what you want, really. You want a player that's 128th, really.
Oh god, I'm yawning. I'm bored by you.
I know, yeah. That's what I do. I just put people to sleep. Really.
Yeah, people enter the chat and then they just fall asleep. That's why they don't leave.
That's why we get good numbers. Right, let's whiz through all this stuff and then we'll answer your guys' questions. Right, which one's the first one I need? It's the betting market, so not that one. There we go. Here's the betting markets. Obviously, we were looking for, I think it was the Liverpool fixture, right? And some other fixture. I can't remember which one.
It was Gomez against Lewis Hall against Curtis Jones against.
Right, Newcastle are at 21%. Gomez is at 40%.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it might be a Gomez one.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go Joe Gomez on that one.
He's gonna have to play, I think, unless they play Kwanzaa.
No, I don't think they'll do that. He's terrible at centre back. He's awful.
Gomez really did have a poor game.
He did have a bit of a honker, didn't he? He did have a bit of a honker.
Yeah, and they could very easily have just taken Kwanzaa off for Trent, but they went, no, we're going to take Gomez off because you've been abysmal.
Yeah.
But, all right. I think if you're going to go by the statistics, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah. Looking at a game that obviously not many of us have probably got the best man for this week, and maybe a differential captain option. Ollie Watkins against Southampton. Sorry. Looking good.
But does that stink of a John Duran rare start?
I think he might start midweek, maybe. Oh, they do have Champions League. They still need a few more points in that. Maybe.
So that could be a John Duran start there. So be wary.
Maybe.
Especially bloody Emmy Buendia is getting talked about.
Oh yeah.
It was Curtis Jones over Strand Larson.
Right, 1.33 versus, well, obviously 2.20, but is he going to start?
Probably not, because I think Szoboszlai has played his way into the team after his substitute performance.
Right, so 1.33.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with Strand, especially when I've got Aït-Nouri like you. I might say I fancy West Ham there, but I've not got enough players, and I'm not about to just suddenly take out the Wolves players in one game panic.
Yeah.
And bring in any West Ham boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Any fixtures you want to highlight on there or not?
I think Ipswich Bournemouth is surprisingly low scoring. I think that'd be quite an interesting game to watch.
Yeah.
I think, well, you are a lot more confident than the statistics are about Chelsea beating Spurs.
Well, that's not like win percentages. It's just goal percentages, really, isn't it? So
I know, but if the goal percentage was right, that it's still a tight game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's going to be goals in it.
Do you?
Yeah, I hope so as well.
All right, well, that's interesting, and I think I'd cap it off with the fact that City's goal statistics look all right. To be fair, for a big Erling, granted. He didn't do anything.
A little bit lower than they usually are for City.
Yeah, I think Crystal Palace away is a bit more of a cagey one, unless you get a goal in the first half. I think if you're 0-0 at half time, they tend to frustrate bigger sides, and I think they've done so to City before. So It'll be an interesting game. I'm not going to lie though. Ever since you mentioned Evan Nilsson that you're jealous of, I'm actually very tempted.
No. Put the vice on him, right? And if Salah,
Leave it to fate. Leave it to fate.
leave it
Yeah.
to fate, leave it to Jesus. You know what I
All
mean?
right. You know what? I will. I'll captain Salah, and if that game somehow gets abandoned, and for whatever reason on planet Earth, Bournemouth still get to play their game,
Yeah.
then it's meant to be.
It's meant to be, mate. It is meant to be. Right, let's take a look at the predicted points for the next 5 game weeks. But I've just done midfielders. A lot of people, like I said, do have Brian and Buemo and are probably in a little bit of a pickle going forward for the next few weeks. And I thought it'd be an interesting one to obviously talk through some names. Obviously not going to talk really through any of the kind of top ones or Eze because no, he's not a pick. The Fantasy Football Hub model just absolutely rim-licks him, even when like Palace could have the worst fixture run in the world. Semenyo, Gordon, Bowen, a lot of players we've already spoke about on here as well. So, yeah, maybe is there any names on there that I should potentially be considering there that we've obviously not spoke about already?
Alex Iwobi, he's been in very good form recently. To be fair to him,
He has.
just seems. I think everything seems to just go well for him. I mean, even goalkeepers and defenders are just passing him the ball at the moment.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that first goal is absolutely criminal.
Oh my god, the second goal was nice, but I feel like you try and do that again, and it wouldn't have the pace to get in the corner.
Yeah.
So I think it's just this purple patch, and if you've jumped on the bandwagon early enough, then you'll really benefit. But I don't see that one lasting too much longer than the next 5 weeks. Maybe in the new year, it'll be interesting to see if he's still kept up his form.
Yeah, agreed.
Bernardo's an interesting one. Don't think that one's very
Nah.
long lasting. I think he scored 1 goal, and Hub Predictor have lost their shit and have decided he's going to be one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. Obviously, if you had Mbeumo, who would you be looking at as your top replacement? Doesn't even have to be anybody on this list.
I hate to admit it, mate, but I think it actually would be Bowen.
Yeah, okay. The next 4 are delicious fixtures.
Yeah.
The problem with me is I would then have like a pretty weak team in 4 game weeks time that would require me to.
Yeah, in 4 game weeks' time, if you haven't touched your team.
No, but like it's over this busy festive period, like injuries, rotations, drop-ins. You know what I mean? Adding another one to that fire in 4 game weeks time.
It's true, but it can happen to anyone. So you might not do that, and then Mbeumo gets injured, or the person you do bring him in for gets injured. So I feel like it's not really. I think you've just got to treat it at face value and see the fixtures ahead of you. And if you can work around that without taking injuries into account, then I think you should be fine.
Okay. I've still got a lot to think about here because I'm still undecided which way to go really with it all.
Well, my logic is if I'm undecided, I'll just go full send into it. Your logic tends to be if you're undecided, you'll just hold, which is probably the more sensible decision.
Yeah, probably. Like last week, just held and didn't lose anything, didn't gain anything.
Yeah, and I went. Well, I mean, I was always going to go full send with Palmer.
Yeah.
Decided to go one more with Gomez, but really, it's arguably a wasted transfer because I could have reassessed my decision this week with an extra transfer. 3 transfers this week would have been quite nice, but it is what it is.
Yeah, agreed. Right, let's finish up on the final section as we always do, talking about the players that have good records. Obviously, Haaland's looking.
What Palmer's record's going to be?
hey, Palmer's on here, lad. He's actually got some because obviously they had that mental game where Spurs went down to 9. Remember?
Oh, yeah, and Jackson got a hat trick.
Yeah. That's obviously where he's picked up quite a few of them. Haaland, 5 goals in 3 games. So, just letting you know, Saka's a pretty dusty record against Fulham. So one more week, lad, of Haaland, I reckon, is probably the way to play it.
Watkins's could be better.
Obviously.
I guess
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, that, because they've been out the league for a season, so maybe that's a little bit of an unfair thing to say. 6 times, 3 goals. Who knows what league they're in? Who knows what form both sides are in? Because this is the best Villa we've seen for a good while. I know they've just been in a poor run of form, but I don't think they've really played much against Southampton, if at all, since they've had Amory.
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting one. But I think the main thing to worry about there is the potential rotation.
Yeah, agreed. Alexander Isak, though.
That's saucy, that.
That's a tasty record, and he was one of the players I was thinking about.
He was on fire on Wednesday.
I think genuinely he looks really, really good at the moment. I
Yeah,
want to get him in.
he looks unbelievable. I really do like him. He's a brilliant striker.
Here's one for you then, right? Him
Mhm.
or Visser for this week? Because that's realistically what the
I
transfers come
think.
down
Well,
to.
no, I think him, of course, but I don't think him for Visser. If you get what I mean, I know that sounds weird, but if you have Isak, I don't take him out. You
No,
play
definitely
him.
not.
If you have Visser, I don't take him out for Isak. If you want to bench him because you've got better players, then fair enough. But I would personally play Visser if I had him. But if I wanted Isak and I had Visser, I don't think I'd do it. Just like I think if I had Isak, I don't think I'd bring in Visser. I think it's just one of those really where when they're playing against each other and Visser's got the home advantage, I don't really fancy doing that because as much as Isak might score, I do feel like Visser's got just the same opportunity.
What if I want to get my heart broken this weekend?
I would probably go for Callum Wilson.
Yeah, Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson. Salah's record against Everton's not amazing, is it? Really?
No, because it's a if you looked on this and if it wasn't Mo Salah in the player option, but it was 0-0 draws,
Mm.
then you'd have a really good record. It'd be probably like 400-500%.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't happen much. Salah has got some very good moments against Everton. Well, he's got that one Puskas nominated moment. Other than that, there's not terribly much
Mm.
because he will probably score in like a slapping now and again. But most of the time, he's not the sole reason why we beat Everton because it's usually quite a frustrating game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I expect more of the same, especially if the weather's playing up, because that's just going to help Everton's. Well, it's just going to help the game be a stop-starty affair. It'll stop Liverpool getting in any rhythm. And with it being at Goodison, I don't think that's an easy game whatsoever. And it's as much as Everton have been really poor this season, they've got to come off the back of a very good result. It's their final Goodison derby. They're going to want to leave on a high, aren't they?
Yeah, they all want to go and leave on a high. And that, I definitely think the point about wind and obviously the weather conditions, I think that's going to suit Dyche down to a T, isn't it?
Oh,
Really?
100%.
Long
If
balls.
you've got Beto in your team, just chuck him in this week.
Just chuck him
Also,
in.
why have you got Beto in your team? But if you do, this is the week you've been waiting for.
You have indeed. Right, I know obviously we are tight for time and obviously you're going to disappear in a second. So let's finish up and answer people's questions. Of course, I will be live from 7:30 tomorrow for the deadline stream.
Ooh, nice start that for you, lad.
Nice early start, but I will be off about 10. I will be off about 10. Won't go all the
You
way up
doing
to
this
11.
thing where you watch a deadline elsewhere?
No, actually, I'm off to the Leeds game tomorrow, mate.
Oh, who is it?
Leeds Derby.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Is it an early game or?
Yeah, it's an early game, 12:30 kickoff.
Ah, sound. Are you going with the roomie?
No, I'm not going with the roomie. He's off out with his friend to the United game.
Oh, all right. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like I might know who that is, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh, sound. Oh, that's good fun, mate.
Yeah, there we go.
You've got tickets there for that, haven't you?
Well, I just know people. You know what I mean. You know when you know. You know.
Yeah, well, it helps when you
You're just big brass. You know what I mean. You're big brass.
yeah,
You
it
know.
helps when you live in Leeds as well. I'm sure you'll make a load of Leeds United fan friends.
Well, this is the thing. It's going on the second channel as well. That one.
Oh, sound.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting to watch.
Yeah. It's so far the most. I forgot what it's called. I think it's like I visited or I watched. Hang on. Let me get it up.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I was enjoying our conversation until you spoke
There we
gibberish.
go. I visited the UK's most hated football club. That's the line we're going for tomorrow. The narrative.
Nice. I like that.
Tasty. So yeah, there you go. They're for people that want to watch the second channel. New
We went
content.
to the it's the it's the Nigel Clough derby, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
No, Brian Clough,
Brian Clough, mate. Brian Clough, come on.
Brian Clough derby. It's the damned United derby.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Right, I obviously am aware we've got questions flying in and Jake is going in a minute.
I've got to go and I'm just chatting shit with
We're
you.
chatting shit. When is the deadline? It is tomorrow at 11. The best Embuemo replacements, I think it's probably going to be Semenyo, Bowen, Matoma, maybe Anthony Gordon. Anybody you think I've missed there, lad, in terms of Embuemo replacements?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. I think it depends on how much of a risk you want to take. I think Sammy Schmodix has a good run.
Not Shami Schmodix. Not Sammy Schmodix.
No, I think you're right. I think Semenyo is a good one. I think Bowen's a good one, especially for short term. Morgan Rogers, I mean, I think everyone overlooked him, but of course, that's just because everyone expects that you've got him already in your team.
Yeah. Agreed. People are saying Millwall are more hated than Leeds. I think maybe, but
I think there's a bit of respect for Millwall because just think of all the class films that have come from it.
Yeah. I feel like maybe because we both like live up north as well. You just know Leeds fans and they're just knobheads.
No, and I think the fans might be more ferocious and notoriously quite nasty, but as a club as a whole, there is no denying, and I think it helps that they are more successful than Millwall are. I think that will probably be the main benefactor to them being the most hated club in Britain, but I don't think there's any doubt that is the title that they have earned themselves.
Yeah, agreed. Grant has said Wood to Isak and bench Rodgers or Cunha, or roll and play Rodgers and Cunha.
I think that's kind of up to you, to be honest. I think personally, I'd wait until next week, just see how things go. But I think that is also quite a decent little strategic move there. I'd probably bench Cunha if you played Isak, but I don't think it's the end of the world if you held on for another week and then you've got two transfers. You can reassess the situation. Probably bring Isak in anyway, but then you've got that extra transfer as well. And then you can decide what you want to do because maybe you take out Wood and find out that Cunha's injured and really you could have kept him or whatever. But yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world if you roll this week. Personally, that's probably what I would do. But if you want an answer, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. But yeah, if you want to go for it, I don't think that's the worst transfer to do.
Yeah. Final question before we finish up. Yes, the Semenyo one. He did actually play right wing back in the game. But the final question before we finish up is: do I take a hit for Salah or stick to Bruno for one more week? Oh, I think I'd take a hit for Salah. You know, as long as that game's going ahead, I think I would. I think he's at that point where he's just unbelievable, and you have to have him.
Bruno's got Forest, though. I'm not sure about that. I think as much as I think you're an absolute muppet, and I'll say that hand on heart and with all the passion in the world, you're an absolute muppet, and so am I because I've got Haaland still for whatever reason. But if you haven't got Salah in, it's on you. But I personally would say you're going to just have to ride the wave because I don't think it's a guarantee that he does get a return tomorrow. Everton's that weird bogey team for us. And also the weather permitting could have a massive effect on that. It may not even go ahead, let alone have an effect on the game itself if it does so. Bruno at home to Forest, I don't think that's a bad game for him.
Yeah.
And then it comes out into quite a nice game week where they have got City away, so you probably would want to get rid of Bruno, and you've got two transfers, so you don't have to take the hit. Personally, it's crazy that I'm saying this, but personally, I'd actually be sensible and safe and just wait a week.
Okay. All right. There we go. That is going to call time on today's stream. Like I said, I'll be live from 7:30 in the morning. So thank you for everybody that's been in today's stream. Any final thoughts from you, Jake?
No, I'm excited. Who's the highest bloody mediocre scoring game going to be?
Oh, it's definitely going to be West Ham Wolves, isn't it? It just is. It's goal fest.
I'm going for Bournemouth Ipswich.
Oh, you know what, mate? It's Bournemouth Ipswich is a right humdinger.
Screams goals,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
you're gonna be like, oh, why don't I bring Evan Nelson? And he's just scored his 16th of the day.
Oh, bloody hell, I totally could have gone there for Nielsen.
Oh no! I went to the venue and he's gone off after 5 minutes. But Evan Nelson.
I've shit myself as well.
Oh no! Oh, oh, I'm still stuck in the lead seat.
Oh no! All right, I'll see you guys
Anyway.
tomorrow live at 7:30. See you in a bit. Bye bye.